we're gonna talk about the Givenchy collection, which was kind of interesting. I think it wasn't interesting in the sense that they did anything revolutionary or anything new, but because obviously Givenchy now is in a state of limbo, they've kind of had quite a lot of creative directors in recent times, like Riccardo Tisci and Claire Waight Keller and Matthew Williams, and like that whole thing going on. But this collection is kind of like one of those like interim collections. So it was just done by the design team in-house. And it was really just about going through the archives and really modernizing Hubert de Givenchy's like silhouettes. And I found that kind of interesting because it tended to then be about the craft. And when I went to the Givenchy Risi, which was kind of cool, I could actually see that they thought about like every single detail. And it almost made me think, is Givenchy at a place where they should just do this and have a design team that does like more like classic clothing that a lot of women want to wear and will love to wear versus kind of like what Matthew Williams did, for example?
It's looking like that's the answer because 5 looks in and this is very chic. Why is it that big houses don't just operate with a design team? Like, because sometimes it turns out to be more successful than, a creative director at the helm.
I think it's the name thing. I think it's to do with you need that one name that just cements
Mhm.
everything together and can kind of help promote the whole thing, or the one name that you can market singularly. It's hard to market like a design team as a concept, I
But do
guess.
people care anymore about I think low key we're kind of past the days of celebrity designer. The
Right.
John Gallianos, the Karl Lagerfeld, it's nobody knows like unless you work in fashion, nobody knows who you know, I'm trying to pick a name out there. But like Matthew Blazy, like a regular person doesn't know as
Right.
much
Right.
work as he does. A regular person doesn't know him by name. So
Right.
I think some of these brands that I think it would be more cost effective for the brands to not have, a big name. Just have the design team do it.
Hmm.
I don't.
Leah said John Galliano, Givenchy was magic. Same with Lee. Yeah, but that's John Galliano and Lee though. Like that, there's how many young designers now are as good as like Lee and like, can you imagine? Because when I think of Lee McQueen, it's like this guy literally was a CSM graduate with Savile Row tailoring experience and pattern making at huge brands. Like when McQueen was at Romeo Giglio, it was huge. That brand was massive. Like design students now just don't have that kind of experience, one,
um,
or skill, two. So even if we were like, oh, there's this like budding designer at CSM, they're not going to do a McQueen or a Galliano. It's just not. I think in general, I think people have less respect for actually learning craft. I think the way that a lot of designers used to, like even when you read about them, they had this like sense of like even like Chris Balenciaga, he wanted to impress that woman that lived close to him that became his patron. Um, like you can like when you read about the way he talks about it, like he really wanted to impress her, and like she was like, "I bet you can't copy this Poiret dress," and he's like, "Watch me, I can make it even better." That's kind of the competitive nature that designers had,
mhm.
whereas now it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna make some hoodies and make millions.
Yeah,
Like it's just like it's like
I
no
think
one cares.
that's missing across all creative industries though is the initial passion for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you just want to do it because it looks cool or you want to sell something, like that's not the reason to want to be a part of fashion of music or whatever art.
Yeah.
It's not That's not the reason. This is quite good. I like this.
Yeah, this is an interesting take. I think today there's a bigger gap between veterans and newbies. Before it wasn't as deep. Yeah,
Hmm.
I kind of agree and disagree. Why I say I disagree is
Hmm.
when I was at CSM, I did see a lot of students that actually had work that I was like, wow. The only issue is that I don't think the industry in today's climate allows for those kind of designers to get a foot in the industry the way that Galliano and McQueen did. Because Galliano and McQueen, from their CSM like graduate collections, Anna Wintour was like singing their praises and like telling Bernard Arnault, you need to hire these people. That's not how Anna Wintour doesn't even know who the hell is designing at CSM now. So she's not going to tell Bernard Arnault or even know who the talented designers are to even be able to tell him, okay, look at this designer. It's just a different climate. So I don't think there's necessarily a talent gap because I saw firsthand sensational collections from graduate students. I think there isn't that same framework to facilitate designers going from, you know, school, designing for a few years and then going to a big house. Because now like brands want to hire celebrities and stuff like that. So it's just a different climate. Or like famous designers or like big name designers. They're not like taking chances. Because they're playing with $20 billion
Right.
budget, like revenue figures, and they want it to go even higher. So the last thing you'll do is to hire like a no-name designer.
Okay. This was a very concise
This is
collection.
true though. McQueen had to show collections at the same time as YSL, Carl, Azzedine. The bar was high. If Dilara is the future of fashion, we're fucked. Leo, you really don't like Dilara's work. God damn. I don't really know I haven't looked deeply into Dilara's work to like or dislike it, to be fair, but Leo seems to have like a thing against Dilara. What am I saying? I do not see anything wrong with making hoodies if you think they're cool. Honestly, I believe it is still participation in fashion. Yeah, I think hoodies are fine. I wear hoodies all the time. I think I'm more talking about at the highest brands. So like in fashion at least, the biggest brands used to influence where trends went, and they used to create trends and steer trends and sort of lead fashion forward and innovate fashion. And so now we're kind of going the other way around, where now everyday people are influencing fashion, and then luxury brands are just like, oh, what are people wearing? Hoodies? Okay, cool. Put that on the runway. It's like almost the other way around. So I mean, in that context is what I'm talking about. But in terms of like hoodies, there's nothing wrong with hoodies at all. I love hoodies. I think the lack of opportunity and companies not taking chances on new talent is something prevalent in the overall job market, even outside of fashion. It's harder than ever to get your foot in the door. Yeah, I kind of feel like that tends to be the case, and I don't know why. I also do not like how Matthew Williams' time as Givenchy and recent Alix has led us to believe he is not a talented designer. I mean, I've always liked Alix. I just didn't like what he did at Givenchy. But it still hasn't changed my opinion necessarily on him as a designer. I just think that he can't make super ultra chic women's wear, which is what Givenchy is, which is fine. Like not every designer can do everything. That's the thing.
He's good in the lane that he's in. Like he has some good ideas, but it's not like Nicolas Ghesquière. It's not on that level.
Oh, this is a good point, by the way. This collection is more focused. The Gucci one without the creative director was lost. Oh yeah, that's so true. Because it's so true because the Gucci collection without the creative director, it looked like it was like a product line. It was almost like, okay, we need to get every single type of product in this collection. So there's every single type of customer seen in this collection. It was so random, but this is like, once again, it's just going back, looking at Givenchy's heritage. And after, I'm going to I have some images on my laptop that I'll show you that I took from the Reese kind of like detail shots just to show some of the details. But no, so interesting. So interesting. And I think actually what I loved about this collection the most, being able to see the Reese, is I'm so angry that a lot of fashion brands, especially luxury brands, have subpar quality, but their prices are through the wazoo. I was just looking at Chloe's prices because they came out, I think, yesterday. And one of the dresses is just like tall and it's like 26K.
Whoa.
And so it's like, for all these prices that these brands are charging and the quality is actually going down, it was great to actually feel the fabrics and be like, okay,
Mhm.
This feels amazing. Oh, are people talking about the best designers still working right now are Yoji and John for sure, no doubt about it. I think maybe in terms of like mainstream, but like I think Olivier Thaiskins is like really
Mhm.
good, but he's just not as mainstream, I guess. I think Gareth Pugh is definitely on par with like a Yoji and a John Galliano. I think that Gareth Pugh isn't as famous, well known, promoted, I guess, as those designers. But I think Gareth Pugh, I'd put his name there. And there's loads of them, to be honest. If I have to think about it, there are quite a few. Um, they're just not as pushed, I think.
I think Olivia would have been nice at McQueen, but I always root for him at any open spot. I want him to come
Yeah,
back to the big house so bad.
I would love to know that list. I have to sit down and write it and then like post it somewhere. Maybe like community tab and see what people say. The Chloe prices were set by the devil himself. Those prices aren't. I don't even know. I think we're at a point in fashion now where they're just making prices outrageous on purpose.
Mhm.
And the reason why they're doing that is so that they steer you into buying the bags and the perfume. And all the ready to wear does
Ah,
is just sell the dream. Because it's so unattainable, it makes the cheaper products more, I don't know, it makes them more desirable in a way.
mhm.
Because it's like, oh my God, I'm buying something that's part of a world of a brand that sells dresses for
Mhm.
like 25K. I genuinely think that's what they're doing now because a tall dress for 25K is just, there's no world in which that makes sense.
That makes so much sense now that you said that. Just to
Yeah.
have the range be so that makes so much sense.
So far away from, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get these
Chloe bags
close
are
up
already like
images.
crazy expensive anyway.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, Chloe was never cheap anyway.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if well I guess it's not gonna matter with the Givenchy collection because usually with these collections that get designed by a team, they don't really
Mm,
get any promotion, any marketing. People just kind of move on from them.
true, true.
And that was a really good collection.
I'm trying to see. I might just have to share my whole screen. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let me share my whole screen. So these are some of the images. There's quite a few, but like that was like one of the dresses. Which if you zoom in, it was actually made by like tiny little pins, like these like
Oh wow.
wires. So that's what I mean. Like you can't really tell that it's that when it's not up close, but it's like insane that they've created those wires
Mhm.
and they've used it to create texture. So like here you can see like they've used darker colors to kind of create a shadow. And obviously this knot too is like a staple of like Hubert de Givenchy. He had like knots on a lot of things. So they used that as like a motif across this collection. So this was one of the pieces I was like, oh, that's really nice. Yeah, that's another like close-up piece,
That's really
close-up look.
beautiful.
Oh yeah, that was like the back because obviously it was like a train to the dress. Um, and then yeah, that's some more an image of the back. Oh yeah, that was like one of the feather dresses. That was really interesting.
Mhm.
Trying to see if I can find because I had some favorite pieces, like even the cat thing was really, really cool. I think this is it. So yeah, in one of the
Mhm.
blazers, they had these like cat motifs. Um, and then they also had, let me see if
That
I can
was
find the
inside of the
image.
blazer.
No, 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 that's on the outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they just have like embroidered eyes, um, which is a reference to Givenchy and like the cat. And also even down to the buttons were like oval shaped, which is what Givenchy used to do. Even the lining, first of all, the lining was really amazing. Secondly, the lining they brought back the monogram from the 70s, which is kind of cool to see because it kind of looks like retro, kind of like vintage in a way. Um, see if I can find an image of that. So many images, I'm forgetting which one is which. How do you view? I don't know how you view the images bigger, but let's just like fly through
I was
them.
gonna say I'm still on Windows. I haven't even moved on
Yeah,
to.
I'm like on Mac, but like I'm like new Mac.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like I don't know how to do like most of the things I used to do on like Windows. Um, okay, yeah, this is an example of like the 70s monogram here.
Oh
So
yeah.
it was used as a print, but it was also used as the lining of all the pieces too, which was a nice touch.
It's not offensive
Um,
either.
yeah. But the way they do it, because the way it was styled was so chic, so you wouldn't actually realize that it's a monogram, and obviously what it's paired with too, is kind of what made it like that. Oh yeah, this was just like a back detail. A lot of the coats had this like slit on the back, which you couldn't see because you couldn't really see the back on the runway. This was really nice, this like feather piece, and it was all sequins, made with like all sequins, so you can see it here, close up. And like the amazing thing about these pieces too is they felt just as good as they looked. Like the fabrics were actually amazing, which I cannot say that for many brands. I just can't. Um yeah, this was another one of the like coats that had like the slit at the back. Let's see, running through. Yeah, so this is like the cat piece. So you'd have to look close to actually
Right to
realize
see it.
the cat motif, and then
Yeah, I
also
didn't even notice that during the runway show.
yeah, because it's kind of like a
Nice.
little
A little
detail.
detail. It's
Um,
lovely.
I think this was one of those collections where everything was all about the details,
Mhm.
and like it's actually the one that was good that I got to see up close, even though I didn't get to see a lot of the collections up close, because this was actually one where it's like, oh, that was how it was made. Oh yeah, this was like one of the pictures of the lining that I got. That's like the monogram in one of the linings of the coats. So yeah, it was just like all in all, like a really, really cool collection.
Yeah.
Like really just all about craft and just like a return to just the chic Givenchy. Now, do they need a creative director to kind of like jazz everything up and then like turn everything on turbo? I don't necessarily know. Because inherently with this collection being so chic, it makes it super commercial also. Which is kind of what they want, no? They kind of
Yeah.
want stuff to sell.
I'm hoping, I mean, before they even get a new designer, that this collection gets some type of movement, gets
Yeah.
red carpet views, at least for the team, because that was
Yeah.
really good.
This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind the scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.